Do we code through a pandemic that should have drawn us closer to God and still don't come to church?
What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Pastor Jacob, and this is another Biblical First Responder video, and this is Witness Wednesday. So you already know everything I need you to do, all of those wonderful things that help this channel grow. Please do it. Appreciate it. Now, when we really think about 2019, 2020, 2021, the first half of 2022, we have to be very aware of the fact that the entire world shut down. What started in China and grew into this whole worldwide thing, you can call it the pandemic, you can call it the PLANdemic, you can call it whatever you want to call it, whatever it is. If nothing else, it showed us black and white, rich and poor, free and bond. We're all on the same level. This affected every household in the world. Nobody was immune to this. Nobody was exempt from this. This was something that shut the whole world down, that knocked the whole world on its tail. And here we are in 2023. While COVID still looms, there are some people who lost loved ones due to comorbidities that were exacerbated by the virus. So when we sit down and really think about the effects that this pandemic had on the entire world, how is it still that there are people who will not go to church? How is it still people who will not follow Jesus Christ? How is it when we've been preaching this thing for years, when we have been reading the book of Revelations and talking about the different plagues and all of the different things, and we're seeing these things happen right in front of our faces, and we still get further and further and further away from God instead of drawing nearer to Him?
Do we code through a pandemic that should have drawn us closer to God and still don't come to church? I'm not sure how God could send a message to say, be aware of me, and we still live oblivious to Him. How does God send a pandemic and then we make God optional? I don't have no help. How does God send a crisis that puts you on your knees when you saw a virus that knocked on everybody's door and had us praying, God, help us survive? How does God bring us out through that and we become less faithful? I don't have no help. God sent locusts to show you that I am the God who is holy, and you're going to have to become aware of your proximity to me.
We are going backwards. We're acting in 2023 as if the pandemic has not just shut the whole world down. We're acting as if it's in the past and it's over, when we see the same ones who told us that there would be a pandemic in the first place, the Bill Gates and those of that field who look into these things. They say, hey, another one is just around the corner. But we're acting as if nothing happens. We're acting as if we were unaffected. We're so ready to get back to normal that we don't take time to say, okay, Lord, what were you teaching us in this situation? Lord, what were you showing us in this situation? How did we drop the ball? How did we miss what was going on through these past couple years? Now that this thing seems to be in our rearview mirror, we've totally neglected God. Many of us has chosen to never go back to church again and to watch from home. Many of us wait for the excuse, use this as an excuse not to go to church, to stay home. When Hebrews 10:25 tells us, fail not to assemble yourselves together with the brethren, as is the habit of some. There are people who have already made it a habit not to come to church anyway and claim to believe in Christ. But now, because of the pandemic, there are people who have now an excuse not to come to church. And I'm not talking about everybody, because there's some people, those who are elderly and their immune systems are compromised. Maybe they do need to stay home. That's an argument for someone else. But that's not the case for everybody. If you're pretty healthy, you should be in church. And even then, what does the Bible say in the book of James? Bring your sick to the church and let the elders lay hands on them. That the prayer of faith will raise them up from their sickness. Like, do we actually believe God to be all powerful, or did we forget where our help comes from? Have we totally neglected the fact that God just slapped us in the face for 2 to 3 years with a wake-up call, and we have just totally turned a blind eye to it? We totally turned around and, as the Bible would say, they rose up to play. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot forget what happened the past couple of years. We cannot let the pandemic come and us act like nothing happened, like the world wasn't devastated, like you weren't scared to hug your loved ones, like you weren't scared to leave your house, like you weren't scared to go to work, like you didn't snap your neck every time you heard somebody cough. We got to be very careful that God let this thing come and he kept us through it. And now we're acting like just another day. No, it's not another day. It is a blessing to have this day, because somebody from 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022 ain't here today in 2023. Somebody ain't breathing today in 2023. Somebody's lost loved ones today in 2023. So then tomorrow's not promised. The next moment isn't promised. We have to pay attention to what God is showing us. We have to stay under the shadow of the Almighty. We have to stay under the blood. We have to stay under the covering of Christ. We cannot get away from the church. We need to be growing closer to the church. We need each other more now than ever. So I pray I've said something that maybe rings a bell. Don't forget what we just went through. Don't let the past couple of years be something that you just let go in one ear and out the other. Please, let us remember what God just brought us through. Let us be grateful that he brought us through it. And let us seek his face before it's everlasting too late. God bless you.